Peace and blessings, everybody. It's Anna Renee here, and I am your love power goddess coming to you today from the Mastery Channel. Blessings to you all. I am thankful to be in your presence once again, and today is February 4th, 2021. Are you guys enjoying the time? Are you enjoying your ascension work? Are you coming into a fullness and understanding of yourself? I am here to help you do just that based on the information that I have from my ancestors, from my elders, and from those who have left a huge inheritance that is so valuable that it's hard to even assess the value. I got this book covered, but this book is Volume 3 of the Metu Neter, which I bought February 2019, okay? When I bought this, we could not foresee 2 years ago. That's a trip. This is February 2021. It does not even seem like it was 2 years ago. We couldn't foresee in February 2019 what will be going on in February 2020. On to February 2021. But you know what? We have been gifted this knowledge, okay? And I have uploaded maybe about 6 or 7 or 8 of those Neteru, which are the archangels. In another language, they will be called archangels or personality types if you are a psychologist in a Western way, or Neteru, or gods. Whatever words you use to describe this energy, these aspects of who we are as human beings, our spirits, what God has placed within us to shape and mold the way we have been gifted free will to do. These books I have spoken on, I have uploaded twice, 3 or 4 times even, as I myself come to a better understanding of what this is, because we have been so, how can you say it? I don't want to use negative terms. We are just so not understanding. We don't get what it means to be in a spiritual initiation. In the ancient times, this was just a matter of course for those who were in the higher echelons, and many people who were not in a higher echelon still understood, you know. This was a matter of course because they understood that developing, okay, your spirit would empower you to do things, to overcome things, to create, to be able to exist on your best level. It's like, you know, having a bunch of ingredients to bake a cake, but not putting the ingredients together, not developing those ingredients so that you can then create a cake, okay? And you just have the ingredients. You have butter sitting in your refrigerator. You have flour in your pantry. You know, you have eggs in the fridge. But you never bring the ingredients together to make the cake. So you have everything you need, but you don't have what you need because you haven't put in the work to bake the cake so that you can enjoy the cake. And so we are blessed in this time, in this day and age, that this one man, this one person, Ra-Nefer Amen, and all those who work with him, no one's ever alone, you're never alone, right? And all that he pulled from those who went before him, the wise ones, okay? And what he has created using his energy, the whole series of Metu Neter books that speak to that ancientness of who we once were. and who we understand we once were. But a lot of times we don't feel that we can't ever be that again, because we are so overwhelmed by the misinformation that's out here. And that's just part of the divine plan. It has to be, okay? That makes it so you must put in your initiation work. That's what it is. Your work is your initiation, your self-initiation. All that you need is here and available, but you have to put in the work. And how many times have we heard that being said? Put in the work. We hear it so often that, it becomes, it just flows over our heads in one ear and out the other, as my mother used to say. You know what? But at some point, there's going to be a blotch of that information, the good stuff, that's going to stick inside of there. It's going to go in one ear and it's going to stay in there. It's not going to come out the other ear. And that's what happened with me with the Metu Neter. All right. And so over the past 30 years, on and off, okay, let me just be honest about it, on and off, okay, not quite 30 years to be honest, more like 25, 26, 27, I know I really, really tried to teach it to my son when he was 12. He's 39 now, so that helps me to understand just how long ago that was. So that means 27 years ago, I was trying to teach it to him. That means that I probably put in 6 months to a year of reading it myself to try to grasp it. And so I wanted to share it, and I have shared it here on YouTube for all of you who are interested. But the truth is that just sharing it is not really enough. Just sharing it, is just not really enough. If I want to, be of service, be of true service, then I need to put in a greater level of work and really delve deeply into this, okay? As deeply as I understand, okay? You know what? I'm not going to pretend like I know and have comprehended and apprehended this whole thing, because I don't think I have. But I have put in a huge amount of work to try to grasp it. And the reason why, and let me just be honest from my own perspective, the reason why it's so hard to grasp is not so much because of the type of information it is, but Ra'an Nefer Amon's style of writing and the way he speaks, the way he talks. He talks with a sage's scientific way, He speaks in a scientific way. It's almost like a different language. And he's very analytical in the way he talks. It comes out in the way he speaks, okay? And so it's hard to grasp what he's saying because he speaks matter-of-factly about these concepts, and he uses words that are over our heads, most of us, and he strings the words together in a way that, you would have to be a sage to grasp. Or you need to become a sage so that you can understand. That's why it's so hard to understand. Not because it's so doggone deep that it's not understandable. It's just the way the brother put it together, okay? The way our elder put this together, okay? So I had to apprehend that. I had to overcome a fear that I was just not up to par to grasp this. That was a major restriction and block. And that's what blocked me from grasping it. A fear that I wouldn't be able to grasp it. Yes, that can happen to you. If you believe you can't grasp it, then you know what? Your spirit is going to, as he so eloquently describes, your spirit is going to manifest not grasping it. You don't believe you can grasp it, so therefore you're not going to grasp it. You're not going to be open. You're going to be rigid. You're going to be resistant to, even though you want to, you're going to be resistant to it, okay? As he describes as the unconscious, the subconscious, and the conscious mind, okay? And we've heard that talk a whole lot of times. So I wanted to, once I understood that, a whole lot more understanding came to me once I released that fear that I was not capable of understanding it. It became easier, and that was something I had to overcome over time, okay? After having put the book away for like 10 years, but never getting rid of it. And then having lost my very first copy, okay? And when I moved my mother and aunt out of their apartment about 15, 20 years ago or so, whenever it was, then I found the book, the first volume, underneath their couch. It'd been under there for 10, 15 years. By the time I had bought another copy, which is volume 1 right here. This is the second copy. Jesus Christ. So I donated the first one. I put it in a book drop at the library. So my people, I'm feeling called to go deeper. It just makes sense to speak a little bit more. Okay, I gave the basic, 15, 20 minute breaks down from reading certain little pieces inside of these books. But what is all of this whole thing about? What is all of this all about? What is it? It's about us empowering ourselves so that we can overcome obstacles, okay? The natural obstacles that exist in the world, they are here. I believe it's divine that they are here, okay? And it's for you to push against them and overcome them. And as you overcome these obstacles, you become a greater version of yourself every time, okay? And if there were no obstacles, you know what? Then you would have nothing to push against to develop. It's like trying to build your muscles, but you don't have any weights. You don't even use your own body as a weight. Some people who don't have free weights, they'll do push-ups and use their body weight as a weight. And that will help them develop their arms and shoulders, right? But you got to have something to push against. And, when you're pushing like that, especially in the beginning, then you're going to feel it's going to hurt. If hurt is the right word to use. But you're going to feel something, right? And as you feel the burn, okay, as you feel that burn, you know that the pain you're feeling is the growth, okay? If you're feeling a burn in your muscles, then you know your muscles are stretching. That's why you feel pain in them. Just like a woman giving birth, she feels pain. That's because there is a stretching going on. Okay, sorry about that graphic analogy. But, these days, I don't know if women are even having vaginal births like that anymore. But anyway, you got to feel something in order to grow. And once you feel it, then you'll know it, and then you'll have it. And then you can then use that to overcome obstacles. Obstacles will become easy for you just to overcome so that you don't have to get stuck at an obstacle and then remain stuck for decades and stuff like that. It's not meant for it to be that way for us. We're supposed to develop our neteru within, okay? So that we can use the different energies and develop them so that they can serve us, that different personality, that different energy, okay? If you need Mars energy in certain areas of life, then you should have Mars energy, even if you are a Cancer, or if you need Venus energy, even if you are a Scorpio, you need to have Venus energy at the time in life when there needs to be Venus energy. And it's that way for the neteru. If you want to be able to overcome, then you want to have that connection to your Amen energy, your AUSAR energy, and even the lower energies like the Geb energy, which is the form, the human form. It has to do with mastering health and things like that. And it's the God of the earth. So I want to go a little bit deeper. Okay, I'm going to stick to what our brother Baba Ra-Nefer Amen, his books are speaking to, okay? And I wanted to start with the story of AUSAR, okay? And this story might sound familiar to you as I read it, okay? This is the metaphorian is what he calls it. It's a metaphor and it's a myth, okay? And it is the story, okay? It's like what you read when you read your Bible and you read the stories of Noah and the ark, and the building of the ark, and those kinds of mythology type stories. And some people don't believe it as a myth, they believe it as reality. But that's beside the point. So let me read from volume 2 of the Metu Neter, because we want to understand the basics to this. The story of AUSAR, okay? We want to reach our AUSAR energy, right? That is the higher self energy. That's one step below the Amen energy. And there was something that happened to AUSAR in this story that caused his death, all right? Which means, metaphorically, it means that the higher self within man and woman died, okay? And we were no longer on our higher self energy, okay? We were on some lower self, the Setian energy, okay? So let's read, all right? Because when you're not on your higher energy, then difficulties become real difficult, and you're not able to transcend. You end up becoming, you get stuck in those energies. You get, you lose your superpowers, basically, you know. And so you end up having to live from this lower self. You become addicted to drugs, or you're violent to women, or you have hatred in your heart for men, or, you know, you're misanthropic, you know, you hate human beings, or you know, just all kinds of different woes, okay, come about when you're not in your ability to live on your higher level. So the story of AUSAR, my people, please, let's read this story, okay? It's kind of long, okay? But not too long, okay? But, you know, this will help us to understand what this whole thing is about and why we should do it. Why should we even think about? Why can't we just live our lives, ignore this kind of stuff, you know? You know, it's sort of like, well, no, it's not sort of like, I was about to say, it's sort of like what was the name of that thing? The guy who, never mind, I can't think of it right now. The Alchemist, yes. And his trying to reach his, what was that thing he was trying to get to? His higher self, but he called it something, I can't remember. And how people love that story, okay? The story of AUSAR, men especially, is to the Kemetic people what the Old Testament is to the Jews, and the Bible is to the Christians. It is the master text of the AUSARian religion, which dominated the life of all of Egypt throughout its history. It is the key to understanding the philosophy and way of life of the people and all their major religious books. As told in this book, it is a reconstruction from various sources, the pyramid texts and Plutarch's Osiris and Isis, inconsistencies and decisions to use a version of some accounts over others were resolved by using the pyramid texts, hymns, and the Pert M. Heru, the Book of the Dead, as chief references. So even regathering all of this information, which comes from ancient times, that even in and of itself was a heroic thing that had to happen, trying to even understand what any of this all means. But there were those who figured it out. Okay, to get the proper understanding and benefit from the story, we must keep in mind that the characters, the deities in the story, are personifications of faculties residing in the spirit of God and man. Personification, meaning you have given this thing a personality. AUSAR is a personality, Heru is a personality, Auset is a personality, and their deities, their personifications of levels of the spirit residing in us as God humans, okay? It's within God and it's within man, okay? The personification process is the genius of our ancient ancestors that helps us to understand this information, understand this, and incorporate the understanding within our minds, okay, so that we can live it out, okay? So personifications of faculties residing in the spirit of God and man. The action in the story teaches in a very vivid and coherent manner, which is the best way to affect memorization and understanding, the functions of these faculties, the functions of these faculties. So the faculty that is Tahuti, the faculty that is AUSAR, the faculty that is Sekert, the faculty that is Seker, the faculty that is Ma'at, the faculty that is Herukuti, the faculty that is Het Heru, Auset, Sebek. Those are faculties, levels within the spirits, okay? Were you to personalize the principles of chemistry or physics, etc., and weave them into a story, a myth, you would make them so much easier to understand that you could teach them to 8th graders, okay? The principles of chemistry, okay? Woven into personalities, or personifications. And that's what, let me interrupt, that's what was so beautiful about this thing that we as kids, when I was a kid, we had this show. It wasn't really a show, but it was like, they were like commercials that would come in between different shows, that different cartoons we would be watching or whatever. And it was called Schoolhouse Rock. And what it was putting music and, you know, fun to the principles of grammar, like, or the principles of the United States Constitution. They create a song, okay, and then they have their little cartoon drawings, and you sing, you learn the song. It's easy to learn a song. Then you sing it, you sing along with it, and in the singing along with it, you are learning the principle that they're trying to teach you. Whether it is, I'm just a bill, yes, I'm only a bill, and I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill, okay, I'm singing this, I'm 60 years old, and I was paying attention to this when I was 11 and 12. That's how good teaching in that kind of way is. You will remember it for the rest of your life. Or conjunction, junction, teaching us about conjunctions in grammar. Conjunction, junction, what's your function? Hooking up words and phrases and clauses. Conjunction, junction, how's that function? Anyway, you remember it forever, and that's what we were doing with the personification of the faculties of man by creating AUSAR, Auset, you know, and this metaphorian story of AUSAR. That's how we help ourselves to learn, okay? So let me finish here. Were you to personalize the principles of chemistry or physics, okay, which are supposed to be so difficult, right? etc., and weave them into a story, a myth, you would make them so much easier to understand that you can teach them to 8th graders, okay? You may, of course, have to defend yourself from well-educated fools who will accuse you of believing that atoms are composed of people and that chemical activities result from their loves and wars and so on. That's just him being, well, that's what happened with a lot of Egyptologists, white Egyptologists going over there to study, and you know, they couldn't grasp that the Africans of that time had that kind of intelligence. So the way they interpret what they saw over there is that. Anyway, let's not get sidetracked. Geb, also known as Seb, the divine intelligence governing the physical plane, the body, the physical plane. I just uploaded Geb, all right, a video of Geb, the basics, and Nut, the divine intelligence governing the noumenal plane, the metaphysical division of the objective realm, okay, the metaphysical division of the objective realm. Yeah, the whole universe is divided into sections, okay? Okay, it's deep, but it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be something that you absolutely can't grasp, okay? But anyway, combine to form, let's start over. Let's read that again. Geb, the divine intelligence governing the physical plane, and Nut, the divine intelligence governing the noumenal or the metaphysical plane of the objective realm. So we have Geb and Nut combined to form the faculties of man, which in this metaphoric presentation are embodied in 5 symbols. As father and mother respectively, Geb and Nut gave birth to 5 children. In order of their birth, they are AUSAR, Heru, Set, Auset, and Nebet-Het. Those are the 5. It's important to note that the story is told on 3 levels. Everything in the story applies to the influence of human faculties on the behavior of the individual, of political forces of nations, and the behavior of nations towards each other. It is recommended that the left column embodying the story be read first in its entirety, followed by a rereading along with the commentaries, okay? So let's first read what these 5 children of Geb and Nut are, okay? AUSAR being the first one, embodying, besides itself, the faculties of wisdom, sphere 2, Tahuti, and spiritual power, sphere 3, Seker. And those are the top 3 when you look at the tree of life, the Kemetic tree of life. Then Heru, although it embodies the faculties of divine laws, sphere 4, Ma'at, justice, sphere 5, Herukuti, and man's personal will, sphere 6, which is Heru, it suffers from the defect of spiritual blindness, which, given the importance of seeing, which is insight we're talking, as shown in the previous chapter, it does not use its abilities. It allows evil to run rampant. Then Set representing the partially developed will, which is Heru, combined with the 8th sphere, the syllogistic intellect, which is Sebek, which in turn is dominated by the animal spirit. Hence, it is the principle of evil in man. Incidentally, on account of him being the 3rd born, Set, the number 3 has acquired a stigma of being an unlucky number in the folklores of many people. Then number 4, Auset, 4th child, Auset, representing man's persona, sphere 9, when fully devoted to God. She became the wife, the complement of AUSAR. Then number 5, Nebet-Het, representing man's imaginative faculty, Het Heru, the seventh sphere. She became the wife, complement of Set. All right. So let's go into the story. I'm going to read that story of AUSAR. I'm going to do what he said. I'm just going to read because what he has here is the story itself and the commentary, his breakdown, okay? You know what? I think I'm going to read both side by side, actually. I think we can understand, okay? He's assuming that you've never heard this kind of thing ever before. But I'm going to read it side by side. When he became king of Kemet, the men he came to rule were in a savage state. And this is AUSAR. They were nomadic tribes in constant warfare against each other. They were wholly given over to evil and sinful behavior. He brought civilization and spirituality to the people, enabling them thus to achieve prosperity. He gave them a body of laws to regulate their conduct, settle their disputes justly, and instructed them in the science of spiritual development. He shared the rulership of the land with the queen mother Set. Okay, we're talking about AUSAR. This is what he did. Who domesticated wild barley and wheat, along with AUSAR, who taught men the art of agriculture, the tilling of the soil, cultivation of grains and of fruit trees. They also laid the material foundation for the development and growth of civilizations. Brothers no longer lifted their hands against each other. There was prosperity and peace. Now, the commentary. When AUSAR became king of Kemet, this is symbolic of the state of the lower part of being when not guided by the indwelling divinity, because it is restricted to the subconscious life of the person. The subconscious life of the person. The person is developing themselves, okay? Individuals and nations are doomed to evil experiences, okay? When he became king of Kemet, the men he came to rule were in a savage state, okay? They were unaware of themselves as gods, okay? That lower part of being was in the driver's seat when it doesn't have the capacity to really be in the driver's seat, okay? The indwelling divinity was restricted and hidden and submerged, okay? So, when he came, he brought civilization and spirituality. When the indwelling intelligence comes, this is the commentary, to the foreground, the indwelling intelligence that we all have, when it comes to the foreground, because it's in the background, while the wickedness within the spirit is going on, the indwelling intelligence, your intelligence, your intuition is in the background, okay? And it just sits there in the background. You got to do something to bring it to the foreground. When it comes to the foreground, it brings order to the life of the individual, resulting in a prosperous, healthy, and successful life. Thus, we can see that in the Kemetic value system, success in life comes from allowing the indwelling divinity to rule one's life. Allow the indwelling divinity, the spirit, to rule your life, okay? Education, talents, etc. can only play supportive and subordinate roles. As the central faculty of the Sahu, or Set, the persona, shares in the government of the life of the individual nation and nations because of her devotion to following AUSAR, the divine self. And that's the whole thing. AUSAR is Set is AUSAR's wife because she's devoted to him, which is the spirit, okay? And that is the aspect of devotion within us, okay? We all have devotion. Not only do we need devotion, like Earth, Wind, and Fire are saying, but we have devotion, okay? You can be devoted to eating brownies every day, okay? Or you can be devoted to your spiritual growth, okay? The AUSAR within you. And when you are, then you got that marriage going, okay? And so what did she do alongside? She cultivated and domesticated wheat and barley, okay? That's pretty serious. That's the food, okay? All right. So, as the central faculty of Sahu, Auset, the persona, shares in the government of the life of the individual and nations because of her devotion to following AUSAR, the divine self. The similarity of religious concepts and symbols around the world is explained as the spreading of the Ausarian religion, historically documented as the oldest in the world. Okay, so brothers no longer lifted their hands against each other. There was prosperity and peace in the land, throughout the land of Kemet, okay? Having civilized Kemet, he turned the government of his native land to Auset, okay, and traveled around the world to spread the same instruction, okay? He induced people to accept his teachings, not by force of arms, but by the use of persuasive lectures, which is so our African American way. Persuasive lectures. Just think about Malcolm X. Okay, just think about Martin Luther King. Okay, just think about these Fannie Lou Hamer. Just think about all of our people. Persuasive lectures, spiritual hymns, and music. Okay, music is very important. Okay, wherever he went, he brought peace and learning to the people. Okay, now let's read the commentary on that. Thousands of years before Islam and Christianity, who spread their religion by the sword, okay, the Kemetians believed in the peaceful dissemination of their spiritual system. This was done not only for the sake of peace and respect for the dignity of men. It was due to the realization that to defile men is to defile the supreme being who is the indwelling self in each person. If you defile man, you defile God within man, okay? If you defile woman, you defile God within woman, which is your God as well. We're all connected, so you defile yourself. And most people who defile women or defile men are defiling themselves. And that's the reason they do it, because they do want to defile themselves. They don't realize that on the conscious level. It was due to the realization, and we understood that those many years ago. That's why you don't pull a sword to make somebody be religious. You don't go about doing it with a sword, okay? Which is the way so many did, okay? And as has been stated, Islam and Christianity both went by the sword, okay? It was due to the realization that to defile men is to defile the supreme being who is the indwelling self in each person. Besides, religion being what it is cannot be disseminated otherwise. Not to understand that is not to understand religion. Okay, so while AUSAR was away, Auset ruled the land so expertly that her brother Set, who was consumed with jealousy over AUSAR's success, was unable to realize his main desire. He sought in vain to stir up rebellion in the kingdom, okay? He sought in vain to stir up rebellion, but something's gonna happen, all right? So he plotted to overcome AUSAR by deception, his chief characteristic, with the help of a confederacy of 72 followers. Okay, so as Auset was ruling the land, okay, and we're talking about personifications, okay? As Auset was ruling the land so expertly, Set could not, he sought in vain to usurp it. So that means to say then that there is an aspect of ourselves, if we're doing the right thing and doing well, there is a part within us that wants to upset the apple cart. Isn't that something? Okay, there's something in us that wants to mess up our thing. You know what I'm saying? That's human nature some kind of way, right? So when AUSAR returned from his mission, he was greeted with a royal feast. This is Set tricking AUSAR. Set came with his 72 conspirators, supposedly to honor AUSAR and to make merry. Okay. So let's go back to the commentary now. As Set represents the personality that is devoted to following AUSAR, God in manifestation, it cannot be overcome by the forces of evil. Okay? Set is devoted to AUSAR, so evil cannot overcome her. That's why she was able to rule, okay, the land, and Set could not even stop her. So Set goes to AUSAR himself. He goes to AUSAR. He doesn't try to deal with Set because he couldn't deal with Set. Set is focused and devoted to AUSAR. But was AUSAR devoted to AUSAR? That's deep, okay? That's aspects of the spirit, okay? So, he brought, okay, let's see. The conspirators of Set, number 72, was an illusion. Let's see, I'm at 41 minutes, okay. I think my phone is going to cut off at 50 minutes. Was an allusion to the fact that Set's main weapon was deception, which is a negative expression of the intellect, the eighth sphere, Sebek. Sebek, who was Set's main lieutenant and strategist, corresponds to the planet Mercury, which in the Canaanite Kabbalah rules over 72 spirits called Shemhamphoras. Okay, there's your Canaanite Kabbalah stuff going right there. Okay, so that's why his conspirators were 72. Okay, so it has to do with the word coming from the mouth of Sebek, which is very Mercurian. Okay, so he brought a funerary chest in the shape of a man, which was so beautiful that everyone at the feast desired it for themselves. When everyone was in a joyous state from beer drinking, that's the way they always get people, okay? Set stated that he would give the chest to anyone whose body fit the chest perfectly. They all tried it for size, but no one could fill it out perfectly. Okay, this part of the story is a reference to Set's reliance on alcohol and other drugs to facilitate his deceptive acts. His deception masterpiece in regards to this method is to criminalize the use of drugs he cannot control and make Sahu man who will believe anything treat the enslaved through alcohol as an ill person. Okay, I don't quite get that, but anyway. He came last to AUSAR and asked him if he would try it, knowing all along that it would fit the king, as he had made the chest to the exact dimensions of his body. AUSAR entered the chest, and his body fitted in every part. Before he could get up, the followers of Set jumped quickly to close the lid of the chest and nailed it down and soldered it fast with lead. Needless to say, the king died, okay? Here's the commentary on that. Satanists make careful study of those they would attack and conquer. Remember that, okay? Needless to say, the king died immediately of suffocation. Okay, an allusion to the relationship of the breath to the working of the indwelling divinity, as it is awakened through special breathing procedures, slow, deep, rhythmic breathing, which has to do with meditation, okay, or transinduction, which is something that is very important in voodoo, transinduction, right? Okay, and it has to do with your breathing, okay? As it is awakened through special breathing procedures, slow, deep, rhythmical breathing, its range of function is affected by irregular and shallow breathing. This has been dealt with extensively in chapter 23 of volume 1. So sometimes when you are in a high agitated state, somebody like Iyanla Van Zandt will come along to help you along, but first she will tell you to breathe deeply. You need more air. You need to breathe deeply so that you can level down a little bit. Because when you breathe shallowly, that creates tension. That gave me a headache just doing that just now. Okay? Deep breathing gets that energy flowing, that chi, that kundalini, okay? The air you breathe so that your system can work properly. Okay, the feast was broken up in great confusion as the followers of Set fell upon the people with their weapons to take over the government. Set commanded his followers to take the chest away and dispose of it in a secret place. They hastened through the thick cover of darkness and flung it into the Nile. The Nile's current took it to the open ocean, and it was presumed lost forever on the bottom of the ocean. So ended the world's reign of peace, harmony, and prosperity. Okay. An allusion to the fact that the indwelling intelligence is hidden away from most people in the subconscious, which is the bottom of the ocean, the bottom of the Nile. This is why meditation, which is a process of taking a consciousness into the subconscious while retaining full consciousness, is essential in religious work. Okay? The indwelling intelligence builds up the spirit, mind, and body of the individual from the moment of conception. Although it is restricted to managing the involuntary vegetative functions of being, which is the heartbeat and the, digestion and, stuff like that. Those are the involuntary things, okay? You don't have to say, okay, now, please start digesting my food. Please, heart, start beating. Brain, start doing. Those are involuntary. God didn't leave that up to you. Okay, that God is taking care of that part. Okay, although it is restricted to managing the involuntary vegetative functions of being, it is the major influence in life. The indwelling intelligence. That's what takes care of that. But that indwelling intelligence can be awakened to work and control not only the involuntary aspects of your life, but the voluntary aspects and rule your entire life. That's the whole point of this whole thing, okay? So that you can have complete and utter prosperity and peace throughout, okay? Your entire life, okay? Let's see, I'm at 48. You know what? I'm going to continue this in another video, my people, okay? This is going to help us to understand what the whole point in all of this, okay? And what AUSAR's going to have to do to save her man, okay? She's going to go straight devotion to go, she's going to find him, okay? You know that part of the story. Okay, I'm coming back, all right? 48 minutes, that's long. All right, peace, my people. Make sure you come back, all right? I'm going to do another video on this. I might do it today.